Y'all thought we were done looking at some high-level tournament gameplay, but oh no, 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 no. It may be almost the end of the year, but of course, we still have tournaments running in NU. And today, we're going to be looking at a round 10 match between two wonderful users, Mr. Ren-chon and Mr. Shengineer. This was when I say every game came down to the wire, literally every game was a 1-0. Whoever won, they barely won that game. So I thought this was a really cool series to cover. Also, just showcasing a very plethora of different types of teams you can see. Just gonna refresh that. Just pretend you didn't see who won that one. Was showcasing a very myriad of builds, and of course, Shengineer's affinity for the Nid, as he calls it, Araquanid. Very cool Pokemon. Used it to some good success myself. I believe Shengineer was actually in that video, and it was a really fun one. So I'm excited to cover this. Of course, comment question of the day for y'all. What is your favorite dark type in NU? Well, wait, I need to hear. Incineroar, Overquill, Zoroark if you're an absolute demon. There's Zoroark in this game, but I mean, you even see a ton of them in these games right here. Incineroar, Zoroark, Scrafty, Alolan Muck. It's actually kind of crazy that we have this diverse of a pool just in this, what's it called? Tournament series. Considering, really, you only see Incineroar and not a whole lot else. Unless there's just a very obvious one that's missing. Anyhow, game one. I look at preview. Shengineer's team is insane. Because, like, there's an Araquanid, but Sticky Web isn't really something I would associate with this build. And he took a very clearly balanced approach. He's not dedicating entirely to the web, unlike in a game like this where you see clearly he is. But he's got still some strong breakers. Of course, we know what Flygon can do. Paldean Tauros is also capable of throwing on a Choice Band and dealing out some nasty damage. And Zoroark can kind of complement their threat levels very easily because Flygon's best check on Ren's team is a Bronzong, and Zora will eat that alive. For Paldean Tauros, it's the Basculegion, and similarly, Zoroark will consume it, devour its entire soul. So I do like Shengineer's outlook into this game. The one issue for him, one of the issues, is this Kilowattrel looks really hard to stop. There's not a clear Scarfer on this team, and speed control is going to be very important trying to handle Kilo. Your switch-ins are a Flygon and an Alolan Sandslash. This is not AV Glober on this build. It has to be physically defensive, or the team is just kind of not going to work. Maybe if you did a super physically defensive Araquanid, like maybe it could... Again, it's tough. I'm having to really stretch the definition of what constitutes viable when I talk about these defensive bonds if it's not just fully physically defensive Globra. So this is not AV though, it's not going to scout the Kilo nearly as well, and it's just going to be a lot easier to punish. So I think this Kilo from Ren-chon is just really hard to stop. Also, Basculegion in this type of game, dude, the water check is in a rack. So we got a couple heavy hitters. As you see on the lead, Araquanid led into Sylveon. Shout out to Glitch City. And we just see a very funny turn one. Honorable trading of damage between the breakers. Sylveon, get the hell on out of here. So Sylveon dies immediately. And here we already see the problem with Shin's team in terms of checking the Kilo. So Air Slash 15 into Volt Switch 31. Compare that to like Registeel, which takes 20 or something from a Volt Switch. Yeah, the difference in damage really stacks up. This Mon takes so much more chip. Now we do see very powerful Alolan Sandslash gaming here. Knock onto the Incin, followed up by a Stealth Rock as the Incin used. Just really cool to see there. And the Legion comes out, and Shinjin doesn't care, bro. He's staying in. Not like he has good switches anyway to this Legion, right? So staying in's pretty fair the entire time, but he gets a little bit more chip on Incin. Chip on this Mon's good for Zoroark long term, but it'll just make this Mon harder for Ren to handle, especially post Sylveon. As you see Ren knowing eventually this damn Mon has to switch. And it also makes a very nice Bronzong pivot there. Shinjin doing what I always do though, Earthquaking the Incineroar because you never know if your opponent even cares. Tauros now comes out, and the funny thing here, you may think this screams Zoroark, but I'm almost certain this ends up being Cudchew. So this ends up Terra Watering, which on first look, I thought this was a terrible play, because I'm like, why the hell would you Terra Water? But I realized then, one, it's Zoroark most likely in your head, right? But also, Flare Blitz would still do 1 billion anyway. So the Terra Water into 2-wave here kind of sucks long term, but it's not bad. Like, it still gives you a little extra checking power for the Tauros anyway, because Legion, you don't want to have to throw all of that responsibility onto it. Especially as you see here, it gets frozen. Though the funniest thing is, if that was like Flare Blitz on the Pallian Tauros there, it would potentially just unthaw it. Yeah, Pallian Tauros comes out again, except it's not a Pallian Tauros. It is a Zoroark. So Dark Bull is pretty easy 2-shot here. Though we do see an interesting switch here. I don't really know why Shen swapped out there. Because, unless the calc must be, because I'm not running the calc ahead of time, Dark Pulse must not have a good shot to KO from 20. I think generally speaking, I would just go for it, but I'm also a bit of a demon. So playing it safer when you have a Flygon that you can sack. I mean, there's literally a full health Bronzong. It's never doing anything. This is definitely like the principled and correct play. Like I said, I'm just a demon. So as we see once again, Glowbro comes out on this. Slash probably just doesn't have any good way of dealing with it, but also T-Bolt after Rocks KOs it, so it's whatever. Glowbro's able to get back to full here. Switch into not into Pallian Tauros, into the Zoroark again. We know that for sure because it took some chip earlier from the Rock switching. As Incineroar can get sacked, and now you just get to go into Kilo. Scare this thing out again. So now we see the Slasher is sacked. T-Bolt easily gonna take care of that. The mod has like 5 bulk. It is not real. This time, the Pallian Tauros is real. As you see, it is Kudju. So very, very cool way to maybe even get someone to think you're Zoroark when you're not. I actually really vibe with this concept. So you never reveal that it's just a Pallian Tauros, because imagine it comes out and intimidates once, but then it comes out again and doesn't. Kind of giving up the game there. Kudju letting you run a berry as well. Get a little bit more recovery is cool. And we see Shinjin just very adequately making use of this free substitute he got. The Zong can boost up, it can body press and break, but I mean, until you break the sub, these CCs are free. They're not doing a ton after the Iron Defense, but they don't need to. You're just looking for whatever minuscule chip you can acquire. Potentially open up the game for like Araquanid to do a little bit more later. Although, of course, it's at 40, it's a little tough to imagine that. But hey, maybe it does something. I mean, even open it up for Zoroark a little bit more. It looks like Zora potentially outspeeds everything left except Kilo. Flygon set yet to be determined. All we've seen is U-turn, and I didn't really look at the damage it took. And we do see Basculegion just get sacked to a litany of Sludge Bombs, and we also see Glowbro ends up being Shuka, so it would have never died anyway. But now it, it super didn't die. Here, by the way, I feel like I would have just Ice Beamed. This feels like a bit of a misplay to me. Glowbro, from what... I think Glowbro actually does die to T-Bolt's the issue. We'll see later. I don't remember the damage it was taking. We do see Tauros come in here. Live a T-Bolt. This sub felt really weird to me, but I think the point of the sub is in case of Volt Switch, knowing you'd still get put into a Guav range, but then you'd have a free sub versus Zong, and it looks really, really good. Instead, you just end up with a Raging Bull. So it's like the same thing essentially happens. So sub works, it's just... guy like me would just Raging Bolt immediately. And here we could see air slash damage. So yeah, definitely a misplay from Shinjin earlier to sack the Zoro. This mon just doesn't take damage from Kilo, which I guess we could have known the damage from Volt Switch. So proper play would have been for sure just go for the Ice Beam there. If he flinches you, he flinches you. I mean, that's just Mons. And I think had he made that play, he would have a much better shot. Ren-chon very smartly not allowing any custom shenanigans here. Goes out to Zong to sack it. As now the Kilo will come out and try a Shengineer Might. And I'm just going to skip through these attempts. He does try very hard to get an air slash miss. This flinch here actually sucks, by the way, because if he didn't get flinched, he got his Ice Beam. He wasn't necessarily going for a miss. He's just trying to get out of range of the 2-hit KO because Ren's not T-bolting right now. But instead... He gets flinched once again when he needs to not get flinched, and the Kilo does end up bullshitting its way to a victory. Very dirty game, but we will begin now our recap of Game 2. Aha, you look how nice that pause was. So Game 2. God, I hated Shengineer's team. So Shengineer brings what I would call an Elias side team, and by that I mean 4 fat mons that do nothing but sit around being fat, a wall breaker, and some speed. Also, the wall breaker has to provide some speed. Like, it doesn't have to be, like, a fast breaker. It just can't be something like a Golurk, pretty much. But this is, like, the most typical Elias Sai type of build. Though, he would have an Avalugg for what it's worth. You have to. If you're Elias Sai, use Avalugg on every team, I swear to God. And I did think, like, the matchup pretty solid. I like Xiao always into these types of teams because your fighting checks are Dory Bramble in terms of switching into CC without Terra. And so then again, we talk about Terra. Well, you got to Terra something like Reggie or Vapo or maybe even Scrafty to try and punish this Xiao. So it's going to be Shengineer pretty much a lot of this game to just make smart U-turns, force something to eventually Terra, and then try and capitalize off of that. One concern I would have is I don't feel like forcing Terra out of any of these mons is necessarily that amazing, so it's kind of like, I mean, if you force Reggie to Terra, that could be pretty decent, because if it's, these don't really run Terra Poison, they're usually Ghost, so Muck would really like that. Otherwise, it's like, well, Vapo could be Poison, and then Muck can't poison that. Same with Scraft. Although Scrafty, of course, is Shed Skin like 99.99999% of the time, so it's a little awkward. But I do think at least the Registeel out looks cool. For Ren-chon's sake, because I'm being real, like, I look at this team and I'm like, how do you win this game? This team has a spinner, you lack a spin blocker without Terra. I also feel like Scrafty just is hard. You have Kilo, but I always feel like Scrafty has a lot of snowball potential into this type of team where there's a bulky water for it to just use as it pleases. With Ren, it's like, see, the problem for Ren, too, is I don't feel like he has good breaking power in this type of game. It's just kind of like, I think the Scrafty could do something. Dory could always trick Zong, which does open up Flygon potentially, because, like, Gligar isn't that hard to beat, and since it's a Milo instead of a Vapo, it does get a little bit better. So Gligar led by Shengineer here. We're just going to see some Spike. This Ice Spinner does nothing, bro. You can Spike again if you want. You can U out. Either's fine. It kind of depends on just how much you care about having Gligar. Personally, I probably would have spiked up more, but I get wanting to preserve this just to aid against the Flygon. And here you do, again, you see pretty quickly that Brambleghast is annoying. Also, personally, I don't like you there. I think you just always knock. Like, if they switch, what are they switching into? Like, who cares, dude? You get a knock on Vapo is, like, worst case scenario, you know? Instead, Hazard just fun away immediately for Shen. Does try to get some good positioning here. Milo coming out versus Scrafty is a bit of a weird look, so Ren scouts for Alluring Voice here by going Vapo. We just see a Scald, so not really anything to care about. Kilo comes out now, and God, the most encouraging, or not encouraging, riveting gameplay of Bulky Water versus Bulky Water. Declined pretty quickly, fortunately. As Bronzong's out, just gonna get his Rocks back. If he could Sign Noise here if he wants. Instead, he just goes for a little bit of extra lefties recovery. Probably gonna have to switch back to Milo though, so we will skip some turns. I'm not gonna keep watching here. Yeah, so this is where the Milo set gets weird. It's Rest, so it's Rest Talk Milo with Marvel skill. It's gonna, of course, be annoying to kill. It's just kind of like, don't know if I love this, but it's a cool idea. We see Muck come out on the Monkey Dory U-turn. Very fortunate for Shin to not get tricked there. If it's a Scarf Dory, which given it took Hazard's Chip, yeah, it is. And we see too, though, he does have a spin blocker now. It is a Milotic. The issue, I guess, is that he can't really touch Bramble. But the cool thing now is Bramble doesn't have a good way to touch the Milo. It ends up revealing Nightshade later, but Nightshade will not be beating this Milotic anytime soon. So it ends up kind of just being a stalemate here for a little bit, as I'll just skip ahead a few turns. Dragon-tailed out the Registeel, but then Vapo just comes out. And we see a trading of the Scalds once again. And we actually see Scrafty will taunt, which is interesting. Kind of a different take to the Encore Dragon Dance sets there, where you have a lot more just immediate bulky setup shutdown, and you don't have to rely on them locking into some utility move to get your free Dragon Dance turns. Also, of course, that denies like Haze or Roar stuff, which could be cool. And yeah, we have a Flygon out versus a Muck. This Fire Blast did 13, which tells me that this is probably mixed Flygon, if that move does that little with Life Orb. I know this has a lot of special bulk. It should do a little more. So now Zong comes out too, and we kind of see that again. This Zong took 26. Now again, this could be fully specially defensive, sure. But, dude, like, it should take more. So probably the worst Flygon I've ever seen to try doing literally anything. Get this mon out of here. Send this mon down to Zunderused immediately. Kilo comes out of the Nightshade here though. This is a free turn to break. Here's where I was talking about earlier though, where that Registeel versus Alolan Sand Bulk matters. 10% less is a lot. You do a third less. That is not good. So Reggie is going to be able to keep this a bit better in check, especially with the help of a Vaporeon passing Wishes. And you also see Ren does pull the trigger correctly on the trick this time, getting on a Zong. And maybe rather a Muck, because the Zong, I mean, Flygon's so worthless. But, I mean, it's still good to have Zong punished like that. As you just see a spin attempt here just not work. The nice thing is you will see spin eventually this game. So Nightshade trying to just, again, stall 1v1 matchup, yada yada. No one really cares. And again, no one cares about this. But we do see some good Dragon Tail pulls from Shen. We actually eventually see this Flygon get brought out, which is, of course, what you want to see when you're trying to spam out these Dragon Tails with Milo. The whole point is to disrupt the Wish. So like you see here, Dragon Tail, Monkey Dory brought out. You don't want this getting a Wish Pass, though, so you're going to Dragon Tail it, too. U-turn doesn't matter because you've got your rest. And we see the Scrafty pulled out here. Not really what you want to see. So Shao comes out, knowing a Nox likely. I mean, otherwise, I guess I get like a DD or Taunt. But it's revealed Dragon Tail, so Taunt's not nearly as good. And this is what we were talking about earlier, too. The Nian Chao being forced to U-turn on the Scrafty due to the fear of a Terra Poison like that. So, oh, get away, Adobe. I don't want you. There's the Dragon Tail I was talking about. So yeah, Scrafty goes for knock on Milo. It lives though very easily. And then the Flygon's brought out and dies to Hazards plus Toxic. But because you're so low now, this gets a free spin. And now Shen gets to play the game with 0 hazards when he has all of this. Not exactly a great look for him if you're rooting for Shengineer to win this series. Scrafty comes out as the Muck wakes because, well, you're Terra Poisoned. You don't care about anything from this. Nox gonna hurt a little bit, I guess, but it's not that bad. 32 is kind of whatever, right? That's weak sauce. And Drain Punch crit immediately is also, like, the best thing you could have hoped for, especially as the Muck goes for a curse again, hoping to try to win this 1v1. Ren says he's sorry, but he wasn't. Not at all. There is no sorrow to be felt. Kilo comes out, hurricanes this, actually ends up getting a self-hit though, which puts it in 2-shot range. Guess maybe you could say that's a bit of karma there. As Registeel's now forced out, and something you might want to notice, it's not getting low. There is a Vapo. That's always worth keeping in mind. The Vaporeon's also at full health itself. But if Zong's out, it could always Psychic Noise. There's no Scrafty anymore to punish that. I mean, there wasn't once it Terra'd anyway, but this being able to spam Psychic Noise is a problem. You're putting Vapo closer in a range of Thunderbolt from Kilo. You're also just denying the Wish, though. It denies the Self-Wish, it denies the Wish Pass. Because, like, okay, sure, Zong is slower with the Scarf, but it doesn't matter. The Vapo can't ever pass the Wish because it's just going to get hit by Psy Noise as it tries to. Or after Vapo wishes itself, it's going to get hit by Psy Noise and it can't even receive the Wish. So Kilo once again we have it out, and Kilo is starting to look really scary. Even though Registeel, we talked about the whole, it takes a third the damage that Alolan Sandslash was. Yeah, well, once you're hovering around half health, it starts mattering an awful lot less. Let me see the Kilo just adequately stalling out this Brambleghast. Just try to get up to the max HP that'll be allowed. And you can Volt, and this is where you start seeing Shen sacking some stuff too, because Kilo is in a very strong spot. At this point, anytime you get a Volt off on Reggie, it's just shoving it closer into death range. So this now, I believe, is 2-shot by T-Bolt, barring, like, Protect for lefties or something. As you can see here now, Kilo's just coming out. Shen's literally saying, give me Pokemon. Monkey always dies to T-Bolt, so now you have to go Reggie. But Shen's won the game now at this point, because he just Volt switches. It takes way too much. Shao gets sacked, and then Kilo pop. So as y'all are seeing, Kilowattrel put in some insane work in this. And now the last game. So Ren brought Inferny. I hate the Inferny. It's so funny too. It's rolled like one of the worst possible matchups. There's an Araquanid. What do you even do? I hate it because I know Shengineer's team here He wishes this was Sword Stance. He loaded this matchup and was so mad he was not a Sword Stance Decidueye. What do you even do versus? You have to Terra Dark the Shao, like, immediately. You also have to be Terra Dark on the Shao, but... Oh my lord, this is just unplayable. It is as close to unplayable of a matchup as you can get. Otherwise, I mean, Banded, Tauros, if you can get rid of ult, or if you just have Stone Edge, right? Like, this is... I see an Araquanid, I'm assuming webs, right? It's like Banded on this. If you Stone Edge this, it's tough because there's Vapo and ult. But you could maybe open something up. Diancie plus Mellow is a good core here. Zong should be able to get weakened enough for offensive Trick Room Diancie to do something. Also, of course, that enables Flygon some. I think that's pretty much Shengineer's play this game, right? You're trying to overwhelm the Zong with one of these three and then go to town. For Ren, I mean, you're facing webs. You're pretty much just hoping you last long enough with your guys. And Ren, for what it's worth, has plenty of power on this team. Mienshao, Nape, and Golurk are all very, very hard for Shinjin to switch into, especially the Golurk, where I feel like it can EQ every turn and not really get punished even. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'd always be so panicky about going into Flygon, catching a Poltergeist to the dome, and then it's like, what, you go Mellow? And do what? Is really awesome. Golurk report for battle. Thank you eternally. So Red Bull led with, there's a very free turn one, you can just attack. Yes, you see Bandit is revealed very, very quickly there by that blitz damage on Vapo. Vapo also revealed to beat Boots, which I think is a little interesting with an Altaria. So my Sirens would definitely be going wee woo wee woo wee woo. Just because, like, oh, is that alt not defog? Anyhow, Mellow goes for a knock, so it is 110% AV. And potentially even is Pirouette. Knocking, of course, the Shao as well to get rid of an AV, which probably doesn't matter in this game, but maybe if it's at like full health and in Terras, it can somehow beat a Diancie. Maybe, I don't know. The Nid enters. This is one of the worst Araquanid matchups I think I've ever seen. Also revealing Bandit here, very funny. But, dude, Vapo plus ult is just terrible. Like, this Araquanid is never going to feel like a useful mon in this matchup. Very unfortunate. And we see Ren here make use of that Hurricane Confusion too to get Lurk in. And then make a good prediction there. Hitting the pretty Fly guy there with an Ice Punch. Flygon dead. Mellow now comes out. And we do see Shengineer decide, you know what, let's go play some slots real quick. Relic Songs the Vapo. Does pull the sleep. And now we have Pirouette Mellow. And Pirouette Mellow is scary. It does learn Ice Punch. Now, okay, well, it shows CC there, but, like, in a world, it could have had Ice Punch to smoke the Altaria. We just ended up killing the Vapo there. Mienshao comes out now. I'm a little surprised that ult didn't come out. It's like Psychic isn't doing anything. You just would have killed with Hurricane, but obviously you see probably some bulky set. I feel like CC from that one kills, but Shao tanks. It's some chip off on the Diancie as Trick Room is set. Oh, yeah, let me not skip this. Meteor Beam lands to the right of the Mienshao. Very unfortunate if you're Shengineer, because had you landed that, well, you could also at least get a little chip on Zong afterwards, and Shao would also be gone. Instead, now you're forced to go back to the Nid and liquidate. Now, the positive thing is Vapo's dead. So now this Terra Water is actually a bit of a problem, because you two-shot the freaking ult, and you take nothing from Hurricane. So now the Nid gets a couple kills. I mean, that's good. It's a veritable good thing to happen. Nape comes out, though. Decky Dewey enters. And again, if this was SD, I feel like he could have found a spot to obliterate this team from Ren with. But he's not, and the Nape's also not choice locked, so Decky Dewey will be doing nothing. Tauros enters, and at this point you're just going to see a trading of the breakers. So Tauros gets a kill on the ult. Nape gets a kill on the Nid. And then you see them trade with each other here. Ren-chon wins after Tauros is forced to Flare Blitz because that's the only move that would kill Zong. But he does die to the recoil. So I thought this was an incredible tournament series. I thought both players did play pretty reasonably as well. The only real thing that I thought was awkward was that Zoroark line that Shin took here. I didn't think he needed a sack when he did. Just because we had seen the kilo damage. I think he was maybe a little bit worried about, what's it called? Some, like, air/flinching, or maybe a damage rolls. It could be that the Kilo was getting a lot of low damage rolls. So there's that. Otherwise, I mean, I feel like both players had a pretty good time. I just don't like this team. This team's like the quintessential. I feel like this is too passive to ever win. Your breaker is a mixed flag. Like, I don't know, man. I thought the teams using this game were very fun, though. So, hope all y'all enjoyed. Like I said, comment down below. What's your favorite dark type in NU? I look forward to hearing from you all. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.